Welcome to De Niro Dan Game Reviews. Today we'll be taking a look at the Ascent. Before we jump in, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. So the Ascent was released back in 2021 by Studio Neon Giant. It's an action adventure shooter with RPG elements. So the game's setting takes place on a planet Velis. You are an indent, which is basically an indentured servant who is paying their way to live in Velis. So as soon as you get past the intro screen, you're tasked with creating a character. Now, in my opinion, this character creator is pretty lackluster in terms of options. Considering that in the game itself, there's a couple options. There's a couple of races, alien races, as well as robots in the game. It'd be nice if you could play it as different characters than humans, as well as having different style options for human characters themselves, rather than just some mediocre hairstyles and just clothing options. There's no choice for like body type or anything like that. So in future games, I like to see them improve upon that. So as you can see, we're starting off in the lowest level of the in-game city called the arcology, known as the Deep Stink. Now, as we're now able to move around the game, you can see the art style and it's reminiscent of cyberpunk genre games, maybe a little bit of Doom thrown in there. The movement in top-down views is reminiscent of Diablo and Hotline Miami. So if you're a fan of either of those games, you'll come to like this one a lot, I believe. Now, when it comes to new player tips and tricks, the game offers several screens telling you tutorials of what to do. As you can see right here, it's telling me how to use the navigation line, which is pretty helpful. It points you in a good direction, unlike some games where it's like pretty vague. So I appreciated that. So we've arrived at our first mission. We are speaking to our boss. As you can see, there's a couple questions we can ask. So the dialogue has some depth to it, but it's not as deep as something like Cyberpunk or Mass Effect. We actually have decision-based dialogue. So just keep that in mind. I know there's a lot of comparisons to those games, but the dialogue doesn't have that much depth. So moving on to gameplay and combat. As we can see, it's a twin stick shooter reminiscent of Hotline Miami and other games. There is a dodging mechanic that is going to be your primary source, well, one of your primary sources of defense, along with the cover mechanic, which we'll see footage of in a moment. So when things get really chaotic, you'll want to use a cover system, as you can see here. So it's a bit tricky to use if you're not used to this kind of mechanic. You kind of have to aim over using left mouse button or left trigger, whatever you're playing on. Hacking is an important mechanic as it allows access to doors and loot locations, but some hacks require a certain level of ice, which you'll need to find the correct cyber deck out in the world to be able to use. So now taking a look at weapons and armor. So the Ascent offers your standard weapons, rifles, SMGs, shotguns, pistols, and the like. There is some customization to these weapons, which may be lackluster to some, only being skins, which there aren't many that I've seen too far. There's also a weapon upgrade system where you go to the gunsmith, which I'm at now, and you spend components as resources, which you can find throughout the world as you play. You'll want to equip the right armor when playing this game. There's three categories of armor: head, torso, and legs, as well as four categories of damage resistances, as well as additional boosts the armor gives you itself. So you'll figure out which enemies do what kind of damage. You'll know what kind of armor to equip for those situations. There's also a transmog feature which can be accessed by another one of the vendors in like the main hub area. So you can customize your character to look however you want, regardless of what armor you're wearing. So another key gameplay elements are your special skills or augments. So you could equip augments by talking to the grafter and equip either ones that you buy or ones you find in the. You can have up to two augments equipped at once in the game. It suggests you equip augments that suit your character's skills. So augments are gonna offer damage dealing effects as well as other special effects such as an ability that can slow down enemy projectiles. They also use up your energy, so be mindful. So as you level up, you'll gain skill points, which can be used to upgrade various categories of your character's attributes. So I recommend, you know, like I would with any RPG, you put a couple into each category to start off with, and you start specializing later on. Even though I'm early into the game, I'm not sure what kind of build I want to go for, or if builds are really necessary for this game. But I would say the most important stat to worry about is obviously like your vital signs, and I'd also say your body battery because a lot of your abilities and skills are going to be using that energy, and then maybe also evasion as well because that's going to be like probably a primary source of defense. So now you may be wondering, is the Ascent worth buying? Considering that this is a game with a double A price tag, being $30 on Steam, it offers a unique action adventure experience with RPG mechanics we're all used to. Although I wish some RPG elements, like the character creator, were more robust, I don't consider that to be an intended selling point of the game. So it's hard to write the game off for nitpicks like that, considering the price tag. It isn't a game that asks much from the player in terms of time investment to learn its systems, but kind of rewards a player if they decide to delve deeper into the RPG elements and gameplay mechanics. This is all wrapped up in a game world with beautiful visuals and art direction, while not trying to gatekeep you out of those visuals with high system requirements or a high price tag for the game itself. I believe it's worth the purchase for fans of cyberpunk aesthetics, unique action games, and RPGs in general. And that wraps up this video. If you've played the game, please provide your perspective in the comments below, and stay frosty.